When Pokemon ZA was first announced, I screamed with joy, thinking about the fact that a new game was going to give Kalos a modern and better representation than what X and Y were able to do at the time. A grim realization came quickly to me though. The new Legends chapter was going to be set entirely in a single city, Lumiose City. Although a city-based Pokemon game did not excite me at first, and the recent game's quality really hurt my love for the brand, I decided to keep some hope, deciding that I would have judged ZA once playable. It's not going to be a big surprise for the most of you, but it ended up being a letdown. Underwhelming story, confusing and easy gameplay, technically limited, ZA just barely got a passing grade for me. Among all of these downsides, the biggest one for me was one and one only, Lumiose itself. Setting aside the level design of the city, which is quite boring and repetitive if you ask me, this adventure, if we can call it this way, made me realize that what makes a Pokemon game exciting for me is, among other things, the sense of adventure in the wild. The feeling of having to explore rural areas where amazing creatures live. And Kalos, well, Kalos is full of magical places. When X and Y came out, we had what I consider the first big jump for the mainline games, the transition from 2D to 3D. This must have not been an easy task. Game Freak had just perfectioned the 2D sprite games with Pokemon Black and White 2, and they probably found themselves kind of forced to keep up with the modern age by switching to 3D models. Although I would have personally stick to the old style, such move would have probably become necessary at some point, as sticking with 2D would have considerably reduced their selling possibility. And let's be honest here, at the end of the day, this is what they're righteously trying to do, sell a product. X and Y was rough in graphics and easy in difficulty, but I would not consider it a disaster at all. It is clustered with breathtaking vistas that capture the imaginary of a fictional France with kind and splendor. And this is clearly understandable from the small screen of a 3DS. It makes you think how much effort was put into creating a new engaging region. This is why when ZA was announced, I initially praised their choice. I immediately thought about my adventures in Kalos and thought they were going to re-elaborate everything in great style and more realistic proportions with a new mainline title. The canvas, the colors, and the subject were all there. They just needed to realize the perfect painting. As we all know, these ended up being all of the opposite, and although Lumiose is one of the most recognizable and loved cities in the franchise, being constricted in a single place when I know that out there is so much more simply didn't do it for me. Another aspect of X and Y that needs to be praised is the lore of Kalos. By rearranging the notes found in Lysander's lab, we find out about the region's history. The mountains will never know one another, but people can encounter other people, and people and Pokemon mix together. Over the ages, people and Pokemon worked alongside one another and created many things. As a result of this, a leader appeared among the humans. That leader sought to produce even more goods. Increased production of goods created a gap between haves and have-nots. The narration starts looking back to a past even more ancient than the Kalos Kingdom, where people and Pokemon lived together in harmony. Eventually, a human leader appeared and brought with them technological progress. The king's name was AZ, and he was both the beginning and the end. He used technology unlike any seen during that era to unite Kalos for the first time. AZ had a younger brother. It's said that he led a legion of greedy souls who wanted to seize the Kalos region. His dark intention was to make it his own. So AZ's brother sought the power to rule over the Kalos region, gathering around himself legions of men ready to overthrow the current monarch. And so the Kalos War began. After an interview with Junichi Masuda, we found out that the war was fought between two different countries, probably between the two great monarchies of that time, Kalos and Galar. The king could not escape war with those who targeted a wealthy Kalos. The war grew so violent and ugly that the king was forced to send his own beloved Pokemon into battle. The revolutionaries, led by the king's brother, eventually declared war for their self-proclaimed state. AZ could not just sit and watch his kingdom falling apart, and so he sent the Kalos army, composed by both Pokemon and men, to fight with this menacing threat. As the war raged and the battles perpetuated, he had to send his beloved Floette into the battlefield. Full of sorrow, AZ built the ultimate weapon. When he did this, he left the following words: "What's wrong with bringing something you love back into this world? Without my beloved Pokemon, no other Pokemon have any meaning." This might be the darkest part of the lore of Kalos, but basically the king was proud of the technology he had used to bring Kalos to prosperity, but couldn't help to use it in a way that had never been intended. Through the dialogues of the game, we come to learn that Floette, AZ's Pokemon, died in battle. AZ, drowning in sorrow, built the ultimate weapon. He sacrificed millions of lives just to have his lost friend back, and when he succeeded, he converted his machine into an actual weapon of mass destruction only to exterminate the ones remained alive. When Floette realized the horrors done by his companion, it left him for good with sorrow and disappointment in its heart. The monarch was surprised and sad by such an act, and only then realized what he had truly done. Eventually, he abandoned the destroyed region, bringing with him the key of the ultimate weapon. He started to wander eternally in search for his old companion, and the first Kalos kingdom met its end. And then we have the two legendaries. Xerneas and Yveltal are used by Team Flare to power up the ultimate weapon in modern times, but their lore goes much further. It is said that during the Great War, Xerneas was seen rescuing and healing wounded Pokemon and humans, transmitting life energy. After its heroic acts, the Pokemon drained of energy was seen transform into a tall tree. Yveltal, on the other hand, is associated with the life losses in that time period. Pestilences, war deaths, the creature was seen fly over the battlefields, stealing lives. In the tales, after Yveltal finished storing the energy it had absorbed, it transformed into a kind of cocoon, remaining in hiding deep in the mountains. People are not sure about these narratives. Some think that the two Pokemon are just a human need to give a face to the horrible events that unfolded during the Kalos War. In Pokemon ZA, we did not get to explore and live this legend. We got to live a modern story with the same characters. Just imagine what it could have been like to explore old Kalos, maybe impersonating an ambassador for peace that roams the battlefields of the regions to try to bring the kingdom together and stop the war. Discover that the stories about the legendaries were real. Yveltal was actually taking lives and Xerneas was saving souls. Imagine meeting AZ when he was a king, witness his dangerous ideals come to life, fighting him to bring him back to reason. Zygarde could have also tied into the story as a forgotten actor that fought to bring balance into the region. There was so much that we could have had, but instead we got ZA. I don't know what you think, guys, but for me Kalos has amazing story and geography that is asking for an epic gaming rendition, and hopefully in a not too long distance we'll be able to bring our impact into the legend. Thanks for watching.